Revolution. This is Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker, and here is your Church Folk Revolution News Report. Our top story. This past Saturday, a demonstration turns out into a flat-out brawl. The group that did it is called New Era Detroit. They went up to Bishop Wayne T. Jackson's church, the Greater Faith Ministries in Detroit, to challenge him. And if you're wondering why we are talking about Wayne T. Jackson again, just for those who need the reminder, Wayne T. Jackson, a few weeks ago, hosted Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump with a special Reach the Black People forum for Donald Trump. But we really remember him from this. It was reported that the New Era Detroit showed up to the service. They gathered inside the sanctuary, and after an offering, one of the members yelled out, "All power to all the people." Immediately, church security and other members and brothers rushed the group and forcibly removed them from the church building. Now, here's a clip from the newera.com or newera.org of their view of the protests.
May God be the judge of your actions.
All power to the people. We just left Bishop Jackson church, and we went in there. We very displeased about the current situations. Not only him letting Donald Trump come, to our communities, just in general, his rhetoric as a preacher. This is about the people. All this is about the people. The people are very displeased at the black churches, some of the black churches, especially these mega churches, but we not standing for that no more. And if we continue to allow the churches to continue to do the things that they're doing and get away with it, then what does that say for our community and the future of our youth in the churches?
I'm just flabbergasted in regards to just the reaction, from the people that was actually in the congregation itself. How they were volatile as soon as we said all power to the people. This people are Christian and people of faith and peace and love. And, well, that's what it's supposed to be. But the first reaction is you chant all power to the people. They Bible. Even if you felt that we were in the wrong, hypothetically, is your first reaction is violence? Because we didn't come in there violent. We didn't come in there to be violent. We came in there to hold the pastor accountable. It's already a big issue that when you look at the city of Detroit, which is over 40%, 39% of the population is impoverished. You're talking about people who making less than $11,000 per household in income. You're talking about a place that's almost 3 times the national rate of unemployment. You're talking about a place that's being gentrified. You're talking about a place where the education level is poor. You're talking about all these things, and here you are with an abundance of wealth, getting $1,000 of donations, and inviting known racist bigots to the city of Detroit, and then you have a problem with us holding you accountable. To me, it's just crazy. And the congregation within it seems as though they have some kind of violent acts as well. I just don't understand the hypocrisy behind it.
Bro, let me go, man. Let's go. Bro. Bro, let me go, man. You ain't got a manhandle me like this, nigga. I got that man. Yo, let me go. Let me go. No, you ain't got to touch me, man. You ain't got to touch me, dog.
All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people.
All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. What kind of power y'all got? Black power. What kind of power y'all got? Black power. All power to the people. 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 How y'all feel? How y'all feel? How y'all feel? How y'all feel? And it don't stop.
It don't stop.
Now, we understand that this has been a very chaotic scene. There are other videos that were used. There was a gentleman, Mark DeAndre. He was up there and he was filming and he got forcibly removed. And there's a lot of stuff that was going on up here with this group. Doing some investigation on this group, I was unaware of this group up until this instance. And what they are is a community action organization that was started about 2 years ago, where they saw the plight that it was their city, Detroit, and they decided that they wanted to do something about it. And one of the first things, they began to feed the people. They began to organize themselves. They do a whole lot of good stuff. And I'm appreciative of what they're doing in the city of Detroit. But they changed their focus. I'm not saying changed their focus, but they added a new element to what they're doing. And this was the first step. They believe that churches like Greater Faith Ministries, and Bishop Wayne T. Jackson are not doing their fair part in helping the community. And they forcibly made it known that, you're driving your Bentley, you're living in your $1 million home with Bishop Jackson, but there's people out here in your church that really helped you get to that point to where you're at. And you need to be held accountable for that, because there's people in your streets that while you're driving in your Bentley, they have to catch the bus to get to your church. That's what they're trying to put out there to Bishop Jackson, this new era of Detroit. Now, from what I'm getting from this group, this may not be the last time we see them in a church, because Detroit, even though it's a city that's kind of on a downswing, their pimping game with the churches is on an upswing. Okay, so this may not be the last time we hear from this new era. And I do want to clarify, and I do want to make this statement, that this group in no means is a Christian organization. Okay. However, I do applaud what they're doing, because real Christian organizations should be about their community and holding those within the faith accountable when they do not do right by their communities. And that aspect of it is kind of laxed in our churches right now. We have city upon city where pastors are doing whatever they want to do, and they're all doing it, but hardly anyone's holding them accountable when there are real people having real problems and real issues. That's called revolution. That's what we do here at Church Folk Revolution. We want to hold those people accountable. All right, our next story has to deal with a pastor traveling and ministering over in South Africa, being deported. Typically, when pastors travel over to Africa, they're typically allowed to say whatever it is that they want to say and speak whatever it is they want to speak. But in this case, one such pastor, his name is Pastor Stephen Anderson. And Stephen Anderson is the pastor of the Faithful World Baptist Church in Arizona. Now, this pastor has been in the news for the past about 8 years or so. He said some vile things about President Obama. He's called for the execution of him. He's called for the execution of gay people. And he's been really speaking a lot of hate speech. And he travels over to South Africa, and he's in Botswana. And they basically arrested him. And, he's basically arrested him and deported him back to the United States. As I'm going to look into the article, see, he's one of these guys that's like the Westboro Baptist Church people, okay? And for some weird reason, he gets to preach about how you're supposed to hate everybody. I don't get it. Jesus said, love everybody, love your neighbor as yourself. But a lot of times we church people just don't get that, especially some of these pastors, because I think it has to deal with the essence of control. And it's easier to control something by excluding a vast, group of people, where you can control a small portion of people. So you got to keep everyone out, and you got to have this thing that the other is going to get you. And that's this guy right here. And there's a lot of folk that feel that way. But, one of the things that he said after the June 12th massacre of the 50 being shot at the nightclub in Orlando is like, well, basically, hey, there's 50 less pedophiles in this world. Now, we do a lot of stuff when it comes to sexual abuse in churches and things like that. And typically when preachers have these strong views about gay folk, typically they're gay themselves. Now, I'm not saying that he's gay. Please don't put that out there. But what I'm saying is that we have evidence and we have documented proof of the strongest critics of homosexuals typically be the homosexuals themselves. They just hate themselves to admit it. They just really have a thing of self-hatred that they have to deal with. And it seems like this may happen with him. And he hasn't come out, or he hasn't been caught yet. But it's a good possibility that this guy, I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying that he is, but I'm just saying that it's a good possibility that this Steven Anderson might be, caught. Because when you typically, like I said, when you typically do that stuff, you typically are caught up in the same crap that you're going up against. All right, but let's get back to this story on him. Okay. As I was reading the Huffington Post earlier this week, and he was on a radio station, and he began to do his whole, hate the gay folk stuff, and how God's killing the gay people, and blah 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 blah. And they basically, the police and the government say, no, you're not going to do that here. And so he got picked up at Botswana. Actually, and the president even said this. And basically, the president of Botswana, his name is Ian Karma. He told Reuters that he just said, listen, we're going to kick this dude out. So they immediately arrested him and kicked him and deported him. Once he finished up the radio interview, they said that he was picked up at the radio station. They should pick him up and show him out the country. And he said, we don't, and this is what Karma said. He said, we don't want hate speech in this country. Let him do it in his own country. Okay. So they immediately picked him up, and he was supposed to go to South Africa from Botswana shortly thereafter. But his passport, he was supposed to, he was in South Africa and he was supposed to be in Botswana, but they wanted to kill his passport, but he had already made it to Botswana. That's the issue. He already made it to Botswana. And then now they took him out of Botswana and took him back home. This happened on the 13th of September. And, I just wanted to bring this up because typically when we're dealing with African stuff, and trust me, in the next coming weeks, in the upcoming weeks on this news report, we're going to dive deep into the African pimping. Okay. But this story is a little bit different because this is, you can see from the gentleman, this is a white man, white preacher. He gets kicked out of Africa. It's such a mind-blowing thing to me because when I'm looking at a lot of these news stories from these preachers from that go into Africa, they always get these rousing welcomes. And for whatever reason, I guess the reason is that he comes over with a hateful spirit. Okay? Maybe some of these people are getting it. But I do want people to know and understand this as it relates to, our mission, our message as Christians. First of all, Christ commanded us to love. Okay? He commanded us to love people regardless of their behavior. We have been taught as a church to love people at a certain standard. We only love people. We're taught to only love people when they live a standard that is suitable to be loved. But that's not what Christ preached. Christ preached to us to love those that we may not agree with, but we're to love them anyways. And too many of us, and this is where the church has got things wrong. In the whole whatever gay fight, gay agenda, and now it's turned into transgender. Instead of extending out the hand of love, we always want to go ahead and retreat to the fear of the unknown and just begin to hate these people and to begin to see these people as dogs, as begin to see these people as below us and beneath us. But in all actuality, Christ is telling us that gay people need love too. Transgender people may need love too. We may not understand everything about it, but they still need your love. And that's what you're commanded to do. Steven Anderson, regardless of what you may feel about how you may think that you're right in the scriptures or whatever, you may think that you're right, but this is where you're wrong. Okay? If Christ saved your life, okay, if he saved your life, regardless of what all the mess that you've done, because the mess that you've done, according to those same scriptures in your life, is deserving of death too. All of us, we all like to quote this scripture, but we really don't have an understanding of what it means when we go only halfway. Yes, all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So basically, our attitude should be, because of the same grace that God has given me, I need to extend that same grace to others. Okay. I know last week when I introduced our new segment called the Church Folk Revolution Report, Pimp, Preacher, Blotter, well, we're going to bring it back to you. But this time, because I know it took way too long, this time we're not going to take so much time because I'm going to give you a slideshow. Trust me, there's much to be said about all these cats, but you get the gist. Preacher basically raped somebody or stole something or did something and they've been arrested. So basically, that's all you need. All right. So that's what we're going to give you. All right. Here's this week's Church Folk Revolution report. Here's your Pimp, Preacher, Blotter.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your mother and you chuck it on your father, you chuck it on your brother and you chuck it on your sister, you chuck it on that one and you chuck it on me. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do?
All right, and our main story, I would say our main story tonight, it would go without saying that this week has been very, I would say, traumatic. Trying to find the right words because I didn't write this out. I just wanted to just say it from my heart. Yeah, traumatic. It was a traumatic week. I would say that. And this week, it brings a lot of pain in this issue of when it comes to dealing with police violence towards African Americans, particularly African American males. And we have once again another two with close proximity to one another, just like how we had in July. Seems like when one gets shot, another one gets shot. And we have the same thing that happened last Friday. We learned of a story that wasn't reported until Monday, okay, of Terrence Crutcher from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was shot and killed by Betty Shelby. And she was officially charged this week, which is good. We just pray for justice to be served in a conviction for Betty Shelby for killing an unarmed black man, regardless of what she may feel in her job and her life. No, her life was not in danger at one point during that entire thing. First of all, y'all were on your way to something else, and you stopped to kill this guy in the way. He was in your way, basically, and you decide to kill him. That's another story. This is not about, when we're dealing with the revolution and stuff, that, my thoughts on that is not there. But also, I can't really go into where I really want to go into on this. That would be something different. Also, we have in Charlotte, which sparked up a week full of protests. This past Tuesday, you have a 50, I believe was it 50 or was he 40? I forgot. I'm looking up his age. 43-year-old. I'm sorry, 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott, sitting in his car and in order to leave the vehicle because they, for some reason, thought he had a gun when he didn't. But the facts are going to change on this story. He was shot by another black officer, Brentley Vision, he's a second generation, I believe, cop in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. These stories are far too common, yet there's a wide disconnect between what happens in these stories and what happens in our churches. And it pains for me to say a lot of our preachers not saying anything, especially our television preachers, and not saying anything. And basically, just being distant. If you follow Miss Justice, she has a whole page full of Paula White tweets from this week that had nothing to do with this week and the disconnect that's going on. There are other pastors around this country, other pastors in that area. There are so many churches in Tulsa, Oklahoma And when looking for anything from any of these pastors or any of these churches, it's hard to find. That's what's troubling on our end, is when the people hurt, when the people are in pain, if we're supposed to be the one that has the answer, nobody seems to say anything about it. They just go on as business as usual, trying to get as many ties as they can, trying to keep that building up and operational. But nobody wants to say the obvious, and nobody really wants to do anything about it. And that's why this is this is tough. But not only that, we have to look within ourselves, and we have to do some self-reflection as well. Um, as a black man, there are things that I need to look on myself and do. And I'm going to make a public statement on my YouTube page. You can check that out a little bit later. I'm going to make a public statement for me on my YouTube page about these situations. But I just want it to be known that this is where we are in this country, but where are the churches? Where are the pastors? Charlotte pastor Stephen Furtick, he's what is it? Not Evolution, was it Elevation Church? Yeah, that guy. The only thing that he's offering is prayer, and he offered I guess, some sort of prayer thing, but he calls for people to go out and work all the time. And yet there doesn't seem to be a call from his church for people to go down to the protest. For or against, it doesn't matter. But, there are people down there that, you could pray with right in the middle of that situation. But I know, because you could take, a lot of people, and this is certain things about some pastors, they're willing to take your money. But when it comes down to it, when you actually need something, they're not going to be very reluctant to give it back to you. And that relates in this situation too. Okay. But more on this and more comments on this, we're going to turn over to another brother in the revolution, Big L. He came up with some very poignant words of self-reflection for us on police brutality. He spoke of the Terrence Crutcher, and he gave these words before hearing about Keith Lamont. So he's not going to reference Keith Lamont in any way in these words, but these words can be used for Keith Lamont as well. So, out of Philly, our brother, big part of our revolution. This is Big L.
What's good, family? It's your boy Big L. I'm tired, man. Physically tired, mentally tired. I just got finished watching the video of the young brother, or the brother rather, Terrence Croucher, being murdered by police officers in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm tired. I'm tired of hashtags. I'm tired of us constantly sharing videos. I'm tired of the articles. I'm tired of I'm tired of the bodies, man, being laying in the streets of our people, man. I'm tired. I'm tired of our piss poor responses to these acts of violence. I'm tired. I'm tired. If you watch the video, it's hard to even to talk about the video, man. It's hard to express just the outright savagery of these people, man. I was sitting here thinking, man, how many times I've watched a video similar to that. How many articles I've read. If you watch the video of this brother, there's two angles, there's two videos out there that I saw, two angles, two different angles. One is from the dash cam of a cop, and the other one is the helicopter view. His hands was in the air. His hands were up. And I got several black folks who often preach respectability politics. And they want to say things along the lines of, if we would stop picking up guns, if we would stop committing crimes, if we would stop back talking, if we would just do what the officers say do, everything would be all right. Obviously, that's not the case. It's hard to take these situations, family, as a case-by-case, on a case-by-case basis. It's hard to do that. It's how do you do that when you can see systematically that these things are taking place and black people are the victims of these heinous acts? How do we sit back and take this attitude of that many black folks have, and I'm talking to some of my black folk right now, that y'all take this attitude, this wait and see mentality, like there's some damn reason that's going to pop up and something you're going to hear later that is going to come, and you're going to get some new justification, say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. No, nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing makes sense. And I'm not one of them people. I study history. I have an understanding of, the criminal justice system and police and all those things. I understand that. These are not new phenomenons. Police killing black people is not new. This is not something that just all of a sudden start happening overnight. This is something that has been taking place for generations. Systematically, this has been taking place. Now, I'm trying to understand. The question is not even me trying to understand anything. This is more of a discussion for everyone who is feeling a level of outrage and a level of what do we do now? Because that's the position that we reside in. That's the position that all the black people who are watching and all the people who are watching black, yellow, green, or Skittle are watching it and recognize that there's some systematic situation taking place against black people. Now we're trying to figure out, what the hell do we do next? What do we do next? because that's the state that many of us are in who have at a level of awareness. We're trying to figure out, what do we do now? What do we do to stop this? Because literally, it seems there is nothing you as a black person, black man, woman, or child can do to prevent situations from happening. Tell me, really help me. Tell me what we can do to stop these things from happening. Literally, give me some solutions here. Literally, because I'm not one who just wants to sit here and ram and scream and yell about police and how awful they are and all these things. But if I'm looking at the statistical, empirical data, the evidence of right in front of us, you cannot tell me that systematically something is not working out properly. What do we do? What do we do? Literally, what do we do? I don't know. Literally, let me tell you, I do not know what to do. I don't know what to tell people who ask me, Big L, what do I tell my children? What do I say to my wife when I'm...
All right, and finally this evening, I do want to tell you, first of all, thank you for your support of the Church Folk Revolution. This week, actually September 22nd, we celebrated our 6th year in existence, our 6th anniversary, or our 6th birthday, however you want to look at it. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone within the revolution that has shared a link, that has told someone about this, that has done anything, that has written anything, that has spoken on our radio shows, that has called in, that has listened. All of you, thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, we would not be here today. You know, over these past 6 years, and first of all, I do, and I also want to acknowledge our brother TJ, because this is his vision. And regardless of his absence, this man, started something because of the need for church accountability when Eddie Long was raping and molesting those young men, and nobody wanted to hold anybody accountable. And when we began to look for it, even myself, I came in, right around that time, didn't even know I was a part of the revolution, but I was sharing TJ's links to pimppreacher.com, to the press releases that he was putting out about this issue and about how he was following that issue. And because of that, and because of his involvement, I thank God for this movement, because I was a doubter. I would look at church, and I left the church in 2006, and I looked at the church like, why are y'all in this craziness? God, this really can't be you. If it is you, tell me. But I'm leaving. I can't deal with this. And in the fall of 2006, I left the church. Totally left the church. I didn't want to hear nothing more going on in the church. I didn't care about the church. I didn't care nothing about the church. I believed in God. I believed in Jesus. But I even told God, I was like, Lord, since I'm leaving since I'm leaving this church, I want to start from scratch. I want to forget everything that I was ever taught in church. I want to forget everything that was taught about you in church. And I want to find you. And if I find you, I will be dedicated to you. But if I don't, I will know that you're not real. 5 years later, Eddie Long has a lawsuit filed against him, and it hits the news. This movement was birthed. That birthing birthed something inside of me. A year later, I became an active member and partner with this revolution. I thank God every day for Eddie Long. I do. And I know y'all hear me say this, and I know that, it's like, what? I go after him hard and been on him hard for the past 5 years. Been on Eddie Long hard, for at least for me, being involved for the past 5 years. But it's because of this situation. There's certain things that happen in your life that will cause you to pivot. That's what this scandal was for me. Because I was really on my way to saying, forget all this, forget God, forget all that. I'm just going to live my life the best way that I can. That's why I thank him. I thank God for him. I really do. I thank God for Eddie Long. It's because of that this movement was birthed. This movement allowed me to have some purpose in life. And I thank God for that. So as we take the time out of this reflection, I just wanted to say, to all the members, and I know naming names may be a little bit tough, but I do want to thank, all the members of the revolution, like I said, our founder, brother TJ, love that brother. And I know that he's gone. You can find him out there. Trust me, you can find him out there on the internet if you really want to look for him. He's just not doing what we're doing right now. But I do thank God for him. That's all I ask is that you pray for him, because this thing took a toll. Dealing with this church stuff took a toll on him. And I do believe that. And I do believe that he had to step away just for his own sanity. Okay. Thank God for his wife, Renelle. I want to thank God for Brother Kevin. Brother Kevin always giving me something insightful. Whenever we spoke, I want to thank God for Sister Liberty. Miss Justice brought me in, and come to find out, being in the same city, we ran in a lot of the same circles and didn't even know it. But I thank God for Miss Justice. I thank God for the Bolton twins, true friends that come out of this. I thank God for Big L, Brother Rob, LL, Brother Andre, all the Real Talk Radio crew. On the West Coast, Brother Marcellus, even older members that aren't around so much anymore. Brother DeWan Cologne, Brother Philip Lee, the Pruitt twins. All these people came to us, and we thank God for all of them. Oregon Sister, thank God for her. Love Oregon Sister. Still speak to her to this day. But thank God for her. But like I said, without all these people being involved in the revolution and actually contributing to the revolution wouldn't be, where it is today. And I thank God for all the new people that have come aboard. Mr. John Cady and Mr. Randy Watson and 504 Baby. We thank God for all of you. And trust me, as we go on with this site, listen, I need some help. Okay? You're looking at my video right now and you see that I'm in my man cave. I need some help. Okay? I need help with video production. I need help with video screening. I need help with website development. So if you have those skills, we need you. So please reach out to us so that we can get your help. Trust me, I need it. But I do want to thank God for all of you that has been a part of this movement and, and everything. I do. And as we continue on, trust me, if we continue on, we want to get to that place where we can go ahead and, intervene on behalf of folks that's Mother Biggs, You know, I thank God for, the interventions that we were able to help, the revolutions, the small revolutions that we were able to spark to give people the power to control where they want to worship and not let somebody dictate to them how they should worship. To the church in Charlotte, we want to thank God for them. The people that we helped in Atlanta, when the Second Baptist Ponce de Leon Church decided to kick out people with cancer and seniors and elderly, single parents. They wanted to kick them out so they can have their nice little ground so they can make some money off of their property. We thank God for all of y'all. We thank God for the moves and all the preachers that, that we shed light on, that if it wasn't for the constant participation and the constant things, see, a lot of times people don't understand that, we not only were we reporting on, or we report on some of these people, sometimes we really intervene and we call the DAs, we call the judges, we do make these phone calls to let them know where we stand as a people, as it relates to some of these preachers who are doing some dastardly things. And we know that because they have this so-called preacher reputation, that they may not go. But I want you to know this, that we are going to continue on to do the work that God has called for us to do. And I'm just asking that if you are willing to help with us, please join us. Like our Facebook fan book page, our fan page. Like our Facebook fan page. I said it right this time. Go ahead, follow us on Twitter. Also, not only follow us on Twitter, but look at all of our social media outlets that you can find us, and we are out and available for everyone. So, with all that being said, I know that I went on a little bit too long on my final comments, but I just wanted it to be said because this is from the bottom of my heart. And I just want to say thank you, for 6 years. Thank you for the 6 years that you've been with us and following along with us. And as we go to many more past this, that this will be a place of ministry where the people can find out who they really are, their true identity in Christ. That the people, not the preacher, but the people can know who they are, can do what they have been called to do from God, that is not dictated and not mandated by some preacher's approval. You can do what you need to do because God called you. All right. Remember, God called you. So we just ask that everyone get up off their lazy duffs and get up and do something. So with all that being said, I want to say this, like I say on every broadcast, and end it with this: revolution.